Hello guys, welcome to this new video. My name is Eric Patterson. Today I'm going to show you how to use Docker containers as on-demand build agent for Jenkins. One thing that you have to know is that we talk about dynamic agent. For example, in the previous video, we saw how Jenkins can actually launch dynamic agent on AWS using the EC2 plugin. Jenkins can also use Docker container as build agent, meaning that Jenkins is going to actually start a container. It's going to mount our GitHub repository inside the container and it's going to run. People do this to keep either the agent light. Let's say, for example, I don't need to install, for example, Go on my agent. If I want to run Go code, I can invoke a Go container, for example. And another thing that if I have Java code, I don't need to install. I don't need to have Java actually install on my agent. I can basically just run a Java container, for example. And another thing that you can do, for example, is Node. For like a Node, you don't need like to run like install Node and npm. You can just call a Node container. Now, how to get this done? Let's go ahead and go to the business. Now, we are going to create a simple job and we are going to go ahead and actually use a Jenkins file. So I usually like to go like simple. Let's say, for example, we go to new item and let's say we are going to say Docker, create a job called Docker agent. Let's take a pipeline job. Let's come down here and actually go to try pipeline. Take this simple pipeline called hello world. Now, one of the requirements that we need to do here before we move on is that we need to install the Docker pipeline, right? We need to install the Docker pipeline actually for that to work. And our agent, meaning that the agent that's going to go ahead and build the job, need to have Docker install, for example. So make sure that Docker install, but we also need to install the Docker pipeline plugin. Without the Docker pipeline plugin, it's not going to work. So I will test first without the Docker pipeline plugin. You guys will see how it's not going to work. And then after we are going to install the Docker pipeline plugin, you guys will see how it works. Now, this is like a simple stage, right? This is like a simple stage, hello world stage. I will go ahead and probably create. So let me go ahead here. If I click here, it opens here, so I can push this one further down. Stages close here. I can push this one further down. So I have this stage called hello. So let's duplicate this one time, two times. So I now have three stages, but I cannot have two stages with the same name. So let's call this one, for example, test. Let's call this one, for example, pure. And let's call this one, for example, deploy. Good. It doesn't matter the command that we are going to run inside. Now, if I want to add an agent here, right? This agent here, that's a default agent, meaning that if there's no agent specified on the stage here, it will go ahead and use this agent. Now, for dynamic agent, you can go ahead and either define the agent, for example, on the stage, or you can go ahead and for example, define the agent, for example, globally. So let's start with the first case. We are going to define our agent globally, meaning that if I run this one, actually, this would be, for example, the agent that Jenkins is going to use, but this agent is not a Docker agent, for example. So let's go ahead and run this. You will see how this is going to work, and but it will not be the Docker agent. The agent that will be used actually will be the Jenkins agent itself. So let's copy this. And let's go to GitHub. For example, I have a job here that I call Jenkins series. So let's come down here and change this pipeline. I'm going to go ahead and override that and actually put this simple pipeline here. It has three stages, test, build, and deploy. So let's go ahead and commit this. We'll go ahead and take the URL for this to create a job. So let's come down here and let's change this one to source code management. Let's give him a source code management Git. Let's put this here. It's a public repository, so I don't have to put any credential, and just change the branch to develop because my default branch is develop and not master. And let's apply and save. Now let's run this job. The job passed and it was successful. We actually have the test, the build, and the deploy stage. Let's go to the console output and see. As you guys can see, it is running inside Jenkins. This is the build agent for Jenkins, right? It is running on Jenkins, and this is the build agent for Jenkins here. This is the agent that actually handled the job. I can show you that agent here. If we go, for example, to manage Jenkins and we go to node, this is actually the agent that actually went ahead and handled the job. This is the built-in node that handled the job. Now, let's go back and actually give a Docker container, ask Jenkins to use the Docker container as the agent, for example. Now, I will go ahead and define it here. Any agent, when you define your agent here, that agent will be global, right? Meaning that if you put an agent here, that agent will be a default agent for all this stage. So let's go ahead and define. To do that, we have a specific repository, for example, that we call it a block. So if you go to github.com/DevOps Easy Learning, there's a repository you look for. You go to repository, there's a repository that we call Jenkins block, right? If I type, for example, Jenkins, it's going to show me this repository Jenkins code block here. And you can search this file here called all.markdown, and it will have a couple of code snippet that can be used, for example. So we are going to look where we are using actually Jenkins Docker container for that. So let's go ahead and type here Docker, for example, define Docker agent for a single stage. I don't want this one. There's another one that will say set global Docker agent, right? So this is the code snippet that, for example, I want here, right? I will go ahead and copy this. I can come down here and paste it here and modify it. So this is basically asking Jenkins, for example, to say, hey, go ahead and use the Docker agent. Telling Jenkins, go ahead and use the Docker agent. I will put this link, the link of this repository to the video. So it's basically telling Jenkins, hey, go ahead and use the Docker agent. Now the label, we are just setting, for example, like the label for that. We are setting the argument as well, right? And you don't need to have all this, right? I can basically remove this, all these three element is still going to work. So I'm telling Jenkins that, hey, my build agent, I want you to go ahead and pull this image here, right? For my build agent, I want you to go ahead and pull this image here. We can put here, for example, let's get a simple image. Let's go get, or we can use this Maven image, for example. So you can use any image here, it doesn't matter. So let's actually copy this portion, or let's take the entire code. Let's go back and actually put it in our Jenkins file. When I run this, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to fail. Why it's going to fail? Because we don't have the plugin that's required to do this. So let's go ahead and run it and see what's going to happen. It fails, right? We run it and it fails as expected, right? Invalid agent type Docker, right? Now, must be one of the any label. Why here? Because we have not specified the plugin that is required. That is why it told us here that, hey, you called it for the agent Docker, but actually it cannot work. Now, why? Because we don't have the Docker pipeline installed, saying that the agent is invalid because we don't have the plugin that is required. Now, let's go ahead and install the plugin. So we go to Manage Jenkins, Plugins. And we are going to install, if I go to install and type for the Docker pipeline, right? That's for the Docker pipeline plugin. There's no plugin there, meaning that it's not installed. Now, let's go ahead and actually get that plugin in. We go to available, then we type Docker pipeline. It is this plugin here, right? Build and use Docker container from the pipeline. This is the plugin that is required. I will get this checked in and then I will get it installed. Good. The plugin is now installed. By best practice, let's go ahead and restart our Jenkins server. So if I click here, then we go ahead and restart the Jenkins server. We can give him like a minute or two. It's going to restart the Jenkins, not the Jenkins server, but it's going to restart like the Jenkins tool, restart Jenkins itself. And after that, we'll be able to enjoy it. Now that our Jenkins have restarted, let's go ahead and try to run this job again. So the first time it failed because we didn't have the Docker pipeline plugin. So now that we have installed the Docker pipeline plugin, let's go ahead and build it one more time. It was actually able to build successfully. Let's check the console output. As you guys can see on the console output, the build started on the Jenkins on the Jenkins server. Then later on, if we come down here, you will find out that something happened, right? I had this image already on the server. That's why. So it was able to check to see that this exists. It actually start a container. Let me go ahead and actually I put an image there without a tag. I will just put Maven. So that's going to go ahead and put Maven, which is the image that I have. So let me go down here and actually change this to pull the latest Maven. So I'm just going to say Maven here, Maven latest. It seemed like I had other image on the computer already. So let's go ahead and build this one more time. Should be able to pull the image Maven. As you guys can see here, what a Jenkins is doing. Jenkins went ahead and pull the Maven image. After pulling the Maven image, if we keep going down here, we will see that Jenkins actually start a container. And actually, if you see here, -v, it went ahead and mount the entire code on it, right? It went ahead and mount the entire code on it, and it was successful. Now, let's see what is inside a container, right? To see what is inside a container, we can come down here and we can modify this, right? I will change this instead of echo. This first stage, for example, I will say sh123. It's missing 1, 1, 2, 3. I will go down here. I can say ls-l. And then I will go down. I will say 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3. And it will show us what is going on inside the container. Let's go ahead and build this. It's going to go fast because the email is already there. But let's see what happened. I ran the command ls-l. As you can see, we are inside the container. We are inside the container, and we are able to see this file here, which in reality are this file here in the root directory here. Now, you can decide that, for example, for this, let's copy the Jenkins file. Let us copy this Jenkins file and put in our VS Code. We have modified it. Now, this is the default agent for all the stage. I can decide that I'm going to run a specific agent. For example, I will pick this stage called build. Then I want to run a specific agent. Now, there are other block of code that you can use. If you go to GitHub / DevOps Easy Learning, right? / I think it's called Jenkins code block. I will put that on the video. If you come down here, one more time, you search for Docker, like we did earlier. Define agent for a single stage, right? This is a stage, and in the stage, you can actually invoke the agent with this. So here we are here inside a stage. Let me copy this, the entire stage, so that you will see. I will basically open that on a different file. As you can see, this is a stage, and inside the stage, we can actually go ahead and pull our agent. This is our agent inside the stage, so I just have to copy this portion. I'll be able to come down here and assign it here. It goes below here, and I just try to make it neat. Let's change this one, for example, to node, right? And probably let's go ahead and define. Let me close this gap here. Let's go ahead, stage the agent close here. On the deploy, let's use, for example, node, right? Let's change, we are using node here. So probably let's just call an Alpine container, right? Let's just say Alpine here. Let's call it an Alpine container. And let's keep this one empty to see what's going to happen. So I will copy everything here. I will go update my Jenkins file so that you can see the difference, the in stage. Now, what's going to happen is that on the first stage, because I didn't specify the agent on the first stage, this agent will be used. The Maven container will be used, right? The Maven container will be used. Let me even change the label of Maven so that it put a new image. So I can go on Docker Hub. Probably I will type there Maven, for example. So I will type there Maven, a tag, right? We pick another tag for Maven. So we didn't specify anything, meaning that we are using, for example, the tag latest. So let's use like another tag for Maven, right? Let me just type here. It's for example, Java or GRE or JD or JDK, for example. It's gonna give me a tag with JDK. This tag here, 387. So let's come down here and use this tag instead. 387 here. Now it's going to pull this tag because it doesn't have it. So what's going to happen is that I didn't specify any agent here, meaning that this agent will be you because this is the default agent. But if you specify the agent in the stage, Jenkins will use the agent that you specify, right? If you specify the agent in the stage, Jenkins will use the agent specified. But if you don't specify, it will go ahead and use the one that is here by default. So let's copy this and actually put it in here. Already commit that. So let's clear this. Let's go ahead and get this, and let's go back and push for number 6. PO6, we come down here. As you can see right now, if we check the console output, right? If we check the console output, for example, it went ahead for this stage, right? We have one of the stage here. We check the console output. As you guys can see, it pulled this one, this container here, which is the default container, right? It pulled that default container here, and it went ahead and actually on this stage called, I think the first stage that we had in our Jenkins file here is called test, right? If you look at here, if we search for the word text, for example, you will find out that it actually pulled that on the test. It's going to go ahead and run, and it's still running. It will use that for the test, right? So it went ahead and run, and as you can see, it will mount that container somewhere here. Then it will go ahead and pull another container, right? It will go ahead and pull another container. The selected Git installation is none. Jenkins special launcher. This decorate cloning. Let's see what's going on here. It's actually taking more time. Update Jenkins file. Checking the revision. It's taking more time than expected. But it did pull the first container. As you guys can see, it pulled the first container, and I'm expecting that to pull the second container. It went ahead here, it's trying to run on this to pull the second container, and it has not launched that second container yet. It's taking time. Let's give him a minute or two. We check something right quick. So let me come down here. Let's get here. Let's update this. Let's change this, for example, to any. Let's commit and see what's going to happen. Give me another view, and I'm going to go ahead and kill this view for now. View number 7. Our Jenkins server by this time might be probably misbehaving. It's putting that node image, as you can see here. Still putting the node image. The node actually image is actually for this stage here. So technically on this stage, right, I put the agent any over there, for example. On this stage, the regular Jenkins, the Jenkins server will go ahead and handle this, or the Jenkins agent. But for this, those will be containers. So if you come down here, you will see that for the, if I look for the test stage, right, the test stage, if you pay attention to the test stage here, the test stage was actually executed in here, right? Now, if you look, if I go back again and look for another stage, the next stage was the build stage. If I search for example, the build stage here, if I look for build, you will see that the build stage, it started in here in that agent, but what happened is that Jenkins actually pulled, right? Jenkins actually pulled a container to be able to run with it, and the node container, Jenkins pulled a node container. And the same thing happened with the deploy, right? Deploy here, you can see it's starting there, but Jenkins actually went ahead and pulled actually the Alpine container, and he was able to use the Alpine container. And notice that as soon as Jenkins finished working with the container, Jenkins will exit out of that container, and that will kill the container, right? That's what you have here, Docker stop, right? It's going to stop the container and it's going to kill it. So those are just how Jenkins use like containers to go ahead and run. This is very handy when you are doing like a CI/CD pipeline. You want to keep stuff light, so it's better to use container. I use container a lot. If you look at my Jenkins file, I pass a lot of container there because I don't like to install. I mean, make the agent bulky when we can take use of the containerization. I hope you like this video. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.